Hey there, welcome back to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. My name is Tori Solis, and today I'm going to be testing Coyote Clay and Glaze Red Gold. This is a cone 5 to 6 glaze, and I'll be firing to cone 5. I picked this glaze up at my local ceramic supply shop in Dallas. I'll put a link below to where you can find more information about getting some of this glaze for yourself. I'm going to be testing this glaze across 12 different clay bodies. This way we can get a good sense of how this glaze tends to behave on different colors and types of clay. I also have this big pot I threw from a mix of my studio Reclaim. I'm going to throw some of this glaze onto this pot just for fun. This is a brand new container of glaze. I'm going to shake it well before I open it. I always make a conscious effort to make sure that my hands are in a position that is holding the glaze jar shut when I shake it. I would suggest this is a good habit to get into. I've seen the posts where a ceramicist shook a glaze that wasn't sealed well and ended up wearing it. It could still happen to me one day, but I would really like to try to be mindful that it happens as little as possible in my career. Commercial glaze is valuable, and I also would really not enjoy cleaning glaze off the floor, ceiling, and walls. That just does not sound like a good time to me. Even though I shook the glaze before opening it, I'm going to use my stir stick to stir and make sure the glaze hasn't deadpanned. This means I'm checking to make sure that there isn't a thick mass of glaze chemicals all clumped together at the bottom of the jar. If I use a glaze where most of the chemicals are stuck on the bottom of the jar, I'm not using the formula properly, and the results could be unexpected. It's best to make sure your glaze is always well mixed for proper use and consistent-ish results. I say consistent-ish because there are so many factors and nuances that can affect the outcomes of a glaze. We can only learn to control as many as we can learn to control. Appropriate mixing and even application are a great place to start. When applying glaze to the tiles, I'm coating them in layers of 1, 2, and 3 coats from the bottom up. In general, this is how I apply glaze to my test tiles for a single glaze. I like to see how glaze behaves at different thicknesses and application. The thickest coat of 3 layers is at the top of the tile, so if it's going to run, it has a place to go. When I fire my tiles, I tend to stand them up against kiln posts or hang them off a high purity aluminum rod. Thus, they are vertical surface in the glaze firing. This gives me a better idea of if the glaze is likely to run or not. I didn't get their glazing on camera, but I'm also going to include 3 mugs and 2 planters. I'm going to be testing across both a textured and smooth surface to see how this glaze behaves in each situation. After the glaze is applied and dried, these tiles and pots will be fired in my Scott electric kiln to cone 5. Then we will take an up-close look at the results. Up first here we have Trinity Spectacular. This is one of my favorite clays from my local ceramic supply store. It looks like this glaze was close to running off this tile. Much of it pulled at the bottom of the tile, the color is caramelly with cream inclusions, and there was a lot of fine crazing on this tile. This next tile is Dragon Fruit Clay from Industrial Minerals Company. This is a really special clay that has a base of porcelain with black speckles. True to form, the glaze ran off the tile on this one. There's also a good deal of crazing on this tile. Next up is my favorite black clay, Laguna B3. True to itself, it hates this glaze and turned it into a dark brown, shimmery, slightly runny sludge with limited possibility. Most glazes don't work well on black clay bodies, but we had to at least try. Sandia Red Clay from New Mexico Clay has real potential. I love how the glaze and clay body interact with this tile. There's a lot going on here and all of it is fantastic. This tile has no crazing and a great gloss. Overall, it's a really good fit. On my Trinity White Stoneware tile, which is more or less a bread and butter, this glaze crazed slightly. It also ran, but not completely off the tile, and the effect is caramel and cream just like on most of the other tiles. A second black clay body, Laguna Azabache, also hates this glaze. Black clay bodies making sludge out of beautiful glazes is just a thing. It's metallic, I guess, but it's also potentially runny and just not great. If I wanted a metallic effect on this glaze, I would just go find a specific metallic glaze to use. This next tile is a porcelain, Laguna 5-6 Frost specifically. There was heavy crazing on this tile, but the running wasn't as bad as I would have expected, and the effect is what I would consider normal for this clay. For my red clay test, we have Trinity Terracotta. Note that in most terracottas cannot go to cone 5. Most of them will melt, turn into sludge, and ruin your kiln shelves. So don't just fire your terracotta to cone 5. This one is special. It makes a great deep red at cone 5-6. That aside, I think this is one of my best body reactions to this glaze. Just generally, this glaze seems to really perform well on a red clay body. Next is what seems to be America's favorite clay, Laguna B Mix. This tile has heavy crazing and demonstrated a propensity for running. Though the glaze did not run off the tile, really cool effect of microcrystals in this one as well. This chocolate tile is Loca Mocha from Trinity Ceramics. I think that there's a lot of potential here. The running seems to have been minimal on this body. I also think that on a heavily textured surface, this clay and glaze could really work well together. The Laguna speckled buff tile looks nice, but it shows a high probability of running. It looks like this glaze was very close to running off the tile. That said, the effect is really lovely, and I think with careful and thinner application, there is good potential here. Funny enough, it seems this glaze was made for my studio reclaim, at least for this batch of it. My reclaim proportions are many different clay bodies in constant flux, but wow, this turned out great, and by some miracle of the universe, it didn't run off the pot. For every other test pot, however, it was a less great experience. The glaze ran off every single one of these other test pots. This first planter cracked during the glaze fire, and I broke it further, getting it off the cookie. For the second one, it ran off the pot and over the cookie onto the shelf, making a huge mess that I had to get off with an angle grinder. On flat surfaces, in general, this glaze seems to run, and not have much effect other than running. All of the effect and beige coloration pool at the bottom of the glaze if you put it on a flat surface. Moving on to these mugs, the glaze did run all the way to the cookie every time, but the effect was fantastic against the texture. I would even say that these mugs are going to be worth the effort of sanding down and saving. The effects are really dynamic and beautiful. Overall, this glaze has a lot of potential. It will require careful application because it does tend to run, and I'm sure that I will form some creative ideas to make the best use for the rest of my jar. I hope that with this video, you can make some great ideas for how you'd like to use this glaze in your own work as well. I covered a lot of different types of clay bodies, so hopefully I covered one that's somewhat similar to something that you're using to help you get started. But as always, I recommend that you make your own test tiles. It's just good practice. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you'd like to hang around for a weekly art video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. I post a weekly video every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time and daily short videos. If you'd like to help support my channel so I can get more glazes to test for you, consider becoming a patron of my work at patreon.com/bluenosetrading. Patrons get early access to all of my videos and ceramic work. Remember that you're an amazing person with incredible ideas. Drink lots of water, and I will see you next week.